On this episode of Crystal Uncorked, you may notice that I'm not alone if you are watching this. Dustin Peyser, my boyfriend, is here in the house because it's my 25th episode.
Whoop, whoop. Time to party, everybody.
Woo!
Here we go.
So he's going to be interviewing me. He's got some questions lined up. So let's dive in. Hello, I'm Crystal Vilkaitis. I'm a curious, wine-loving entrepreneur who loves to learn and have open and honest conversations. Join me and my amazing guests as we talk about all sorts of relatable business and life stuff. It's my goal that you'll have fun, learn something new, and get inspired. Wine is not required, but is recommended. This is Crystal Uncorked. Okay, so before we dive in, we got to talk about what we're drinking. And I'm not embarrassed to say that we have 3 different wines in this room right now. I mean, right?
It's true.
I'm finishing the Akash Threes Company wine that I had. I just did an interview before this. So, I'm doing that. Dustin, you are drinking. What are you drinking?
I'm not sure what this is exactly. I tend to drink your leftovers, so.
No, this is fully you. But this is Pacificana. It's a California 2018 Syrah. This is part of a Wink membership that I'm a part of, which I can link to, where they send you wines.
Have you talked about that?
New stuff a little bit. And then we've got my good trusty friend Joel Gott just sitting on the sidelines. He's saying, "Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play
today."
I was like, are we going to have enough wine? I should probably open another bottle. So I did. And it's Joel Gott, and it's one of my faves. So like I said in the little intro, it's my 25th anniversary episode. Not anniversary. And Dustin's here to ask me some questions. So I'm just going to let you go for it.
Yeah, we're going to take a trip down memory lane at some of the past interviews and some of the past podcasts and talk about what that all looked like.
We didn't even cheers.
Oh, shit.
That was amateur on my end. Cheers, honey.
All right.
Trip down memory lane, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
First, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
It's pretty good. I mean, to do something like this is pretty impressive. And the following and all the people that have come, really some right out of the woodwork, and friends that listen, which is sort of strange, right? You get your people that are listening. It's like, all you got to do is come over or, hang out. But they listen to these podcasts, which is cool. I
don't feel like it's strange. I feel honored. It's a really weird, amazing, grateful, honored.
That's a good way to look at it. What would you say some of the things that you've learned over these 25 episodes are key items that you think really struck you?
Mm-hmm. Well, there have been a lot of things that I've learned. I knew it would be a lot of work doing this. I didn't realize how much. It is a lot of work. But what I also didn't know, I was so pulled to do the show, and whenever I'm working on Crystal Uncorked, I'm so in the zone. I'm loving it. And I'm like, oh, I wish I had more time to do this. And it unfortunately kind of gets pushed to the end of the to-do list because I'm running a business and I have other things that are going on in life, moving across the country. And so it kind of gets pushed to the end, but it's really my favorite thing to do. So I love it so much. It is a lot of work. I realized I couldn't do it alone. Early on, I'm in a ladies mastermind group. There's 6 of us. We've been meeting for years now. We call us the Durango 6. We all won a competition we were in. We were all finalists. We didn't all win. And we have been meeting, and when I first started the show, I was I am just so overwhelmed. I'm recording and editing and uploading and writing the titles and designing the thumbnails. You helped me so much with designing the thumbnails. Remember, Dustin has a graphic design experience and just has an artist's eye. So I'd be help me. So I was doing all this stuff. And I'm oh, this is not sustainable. So on the ladies mastermind, they're why don't you, this is something you really enjoy. Why don't you look at this as like it was a hobby? You would invest in it, right? Like if you had a hobby, you would buy the craft supplies or the sign up for a sports league, which costs money, like put some money into it. And so I found the most amazing podcast team in the world.
I've never spoken with these people, but I can tell you, I want to start a podcast just to work with them.
Yes.
They're the shit. I don't know the name of the company or anything like that.
Podfixer.
Podfixer, like podfixer.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, check them out if you do these things. I mean, just from someone looking from the outside in and someone who's really a delegator and likes systems, and these guys are, it's pretty cool. It's pretty impressive. So yeah, check them out.
Well, I've mentioned them a few times on the show because I'm possibly obsessed with them, but they make my life so easy. And that's what David said in the interview of this, like me kind of like saying, should we work together? He's like, I want to take as much off your plate so you can really do what you're good at, and then we can do the rest. And man, I don't know if I would be on episode 25, which I feel like I'm so excited for this milestone, but like, I can't wait for episode 2500. Like that's where I'm at. So I just don't even think I could do 25 without a team though, because it would be total burnout. It's a lot of work. I respect people who do podcasts, especially like with the video element. It is a lot of work.
What's missing in the team, do you think? Is there anything that you wish you had to help, or in a dream world would have to help and develop the podcast?
Oh my God, I totally have a dream world.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
In lots of ways, right?
Yeah.
But as it relates to the show, I said this to my graphic designer, Steph, at Crystal Media. She helps me a little bit on the show, but not too much. She's pretty focused on Crystal Media stuff. We keep her very busy, but she's so talented and has such great ideas. And I love having somebody else to share ideas with and bounce off of each other. And I was like, I see this vision of a room, like a writer's room, where you have a late night show or talk show or something, and everybody's going around the table with their ideas and it's collaborative. So I would love a collaborative approach to the content, because right now it's just me. And then I come out to you and I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this on the show. What do you think? And you always give me feedback and you always are so helpful. I just want like people who are researching and thinking ahead of time and coming to the table, and it's really fun. And then, like updating my social media, like when I'm doing it and spending time on it, I'm loving it, but it's so much work and it's so the thing that gets pushed behind. And that is obviously what I teach all my retailers. I so can relate to them, and what I teach them is who, not how. And that's kind of where I've been thinking lately, is like, how can I really get Steph to help, or maybe it's somebody else, just to make sure we're getting consistent content. But at the same time, like I want to tell the story in those posts. So like it does have to come from me. It's more so like I need to then maybe change my schedule a little bit to have more time to do that.
Okay, that makes sense. Has there been any challenges in the podcast or something that's popped up that you didn't expect?
Well, I would say didn't expect. I felt, looking back, I feel a little naive on just how much effort and work I thought it would be. I guess it's more about like how serious I take this. I knew I would be serious about it, but like when I'm preparing for a guest, I really care. Like I will get nervous stomach like I get when I speak on stages. Sometimes I can't sleep at night. I have fear, like what if I fuck up? What if I don't want to have regrets, like, oh, I should ask them something. And then you're in the moment interviewing somebody and you're like making sure tech is working. You're watching your mic levels. Oh, what's happening with camera? Okay, what's my next question? But you really want to be in the conversation with them. And I feel like I've done a good job with that there hasn't been like a, embarrassing moment where I checked out and wasn't listening to them. But it's a lot to juggle. And I just did not like realize that. The other thing, I don't know if any of my listeners feel this way, but this is so top of mind because I just did an interview right before this. And I've caught this because I've listened to a few of my episodes, which like just to see how do they sound. And I'm like, is it bad if I talk about myself? Like, it is my show when I have guests on. And they'll tell a story, and I just like to relate, or I like to say, oh, that happened to me, blah, blah, but then I'll full circle back to them. It's not like I take over the story, but I'm like, I've been really watching other people's interviews now. I'm like analyzing every interviewer now, which I'm obsessed with. And they never talk about themselves. And if they do, it's like for a 5-second. And so I'm like, whoa, maybe I shouldn't be talking about myself too much. Like maybe I should really be focusing on my guest. Am I doing a disservice?
So interviewers that, like an Ellen or a
talk
they
show
don't ever talk
hosts.
about themselves at all.
Right.
Yeah. That's probably good feedback. I never thought of that. It's easy to get off the rails and take a conversation and make it about yourself. It's just natural that people do that.
Right.
So to interview someone, I think is very important that you put them first always in every angle.
Exactly.
Maybe enter in if you feel like they're maybe embarrassed about something, or sort of pick them up, come in to points where you can be relatable and things that maybe they're not too keen to talk about. That could be helpful, but keeping yourself out of it. And because it's off-putting, I think. And I think that's probably a big reason why they don't do that. Is that your
feedback for me?
No,
is it off-putting?
no.
Or you're saying just like
in general.
other...
And I'm guilty of it. I do it all the time. It's just natural, but it's hard to be conscious of that.
Yeah.
Our dear friend Robin is probably the best person of putting other people before herself in conversation, particularly.
She so is.
She's gifted to that.
Oh my God, she is. She would be an excellent interviewer.
She would. Yeah, she would.
Wow.
But what do you see with all the challenges and some of the ideas you have for the future? What is the future? 25,000 episodes?
Well, I said 2,500.
2,500 episodes?
25,000. We haven't got there yet. Even 2,500 is a lot.
That is a lot.
Like how many years is that? If it was,
I don't even know if Joe Rogan has 2,500 episodes.
Well, I'm competitive.
He talks for 3 hours straight, though.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, the future, I definitely have ideas. I also don't know entirely like where it's going. I feel like it's going to turn into something that I couldn't have even imagined. So I'm along for the ride and I'm open to that. But I have a weird vision in my head that I want an upgraded studio. I want, like, I've created this here, right? And by no means do I know what I'm doing. I got some consulting on the camera and the switchboard, but I'm like, figure all this out. But I really want like a chair that I sit in. Like, I know this is ridiculous, but I see this. I want, it's either like light gray or cream. I want this chair and there's a blanket and it's a really cool, comfortable setting. I have a candle. And then like occasionally maybe I want music on the show. I want to create more of an experience, a visual experience, an audio experience, and talk to really interesting people. And ideally we're together. Like I would really love in person. But like online is great too. But I want to keep going. And then like, I want to have meetups. I want to go physically to conferences and meet people who like we're friends with on Instagram and they comment about the show and I'm like, I know you because I've seen you comment, like create these people that, I didn't even know, but the show brought us together. Yeah. And I want merch, like some cool wine thing, and purely for like how cool that would be, not to like, oh, now I make all this money on merch. Like just it'd be cool to have like that brand. And then, I mean, I don't know if I've actually shared this on the show. Probably I want my own wine. I think it'd be really cool that if the show could lead to that. And then, also I'm getting crazy and I'm talking about a lot of ideas, but I'm only thought about this once or twice. Like I see this, my studio, but also like it's my studio, but it's also set up with all these screens to do like these virtual tasting events or these virtual meetups, because obviously it's all over the country and world, right? With podcasting and YouTube. So if I could see everybody on Zoom and create this community around women who like wine, and you don't have to like wine. That's fine.
You have to be a woman?
And you don't have to be a woman, actually.
So why'd you say that?
Well, because I don't know. I don't know. But thank you for clarifying. You don't have to. You like wine and you like honest and open conversations. And you also like having fun. And so we can have some like really raw and real stuff where there's no judgment. It's just like honesty and being there for people, like connection. But then also like we fucking sing karaoke sometimes.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's kind of the vision. So it's a lot of things. And that's where it's like, I got to figure that out.
We were talking about before filming this, a giveaway, and you just brought up two things that I think would be cool. Although we decided before this that there wouldn't be a giveaway, but hypothetically speaking, what if someone designed you some merch and you're like, shit, that is cool. Let's give you some cool shit.
Oh, well,
maybe I don't know what you can give away. We talked about giving away wine, but I'm not sure if there's legal stuff to that or not, but money, I don't know, something, who knows, but wine or I'm sorry, not
you
wine,
want me to
sweat.
pay people to watch the show? Is that what you're saying?
No, I want creative people. I think I would be led to believe that smart, motivated, talented people listen to this, and those people have a vision completely different than what you do for it. So it'd be interesting to see, if they designed a wine label or a bag or a t-shirt or just something, you could put that shit together on Canva in 15 minutes and you could be like, holy shit, that's cool. Here's something, there's something to give. Or like the wine label, or like you said, you want to have your own wine. Maybe some person out there will make some wine that's inspired by you and you can go taste it and interview their winery. I don't know. There's just what's exciting, I think, in looking at it from my perspective is it's really limitless in what you can do, and you can do it in your own way. The folks that did the motorcycle tour and provided that for us.
SoCal Sidecars.
Yeah, that was cool. That just came out of nowhere, and it was a really great experience. And then got hammered. I did anyway.
Dustin got wasted.
Oh my gosh, I was throwing up on the side of the street.
Yeah.
But it was not good. I mean, it was good until that, but
he took a turn.
It took a turn. But those kinds of things are cool. To be able to do it in whatever way you want is cool. And I think that's really what the excitement of life is, really.
I mean, you bring up so many great points.
So anyway, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
If you're out there, let's see the swag. Let's see some creative stuff from people, and let's give some cool stuff, and those maybe make a tasty wine and inspired by Crystal. And
I would love it. I would probably cry at anybody who made any of those things. Yeah, that would mean the world to me. But that would be cool. I love it. And we'll get more formulated for like a 50 episode or 100. Definitely 100 episode. We'll do some fun stuff and giveaways. That's
the vision. Some of those things.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in there.
Has there been nuggets from, let's just say, 2 or 3 specific episodes that touched you in a way that, were really inspiring in some way, or powerful, or maybe must listen for folks out there to get a good taste and representation of what the podcast is, or what you want it to be? And you've had some really people I know personally to be very smart, and some good friends who have had really powerful stories. I think, is there any, let's just say, I know 2 or 3 that stick out and reasons why maybe someone should tune in, looking at it now, where prior to you maybe didn't say something at that time?
Well, I feel like that's tough, because it's this weird thing for me that I truly love every guest episode I've had for different reasons, they're so special to me. I mean, Rob and Leah Davis, and talking about their son Blake, was probably the most emotional, heartfelt episode. And the thing about that one is, I think it was like the last 5 minutes of that episode, they gave advice on other parents who might have lost a child. And their advice was like, it was so fucking deep, like how they've come out of the worst thing possible and can be there for parents going through the worst thing that they could ever have happened to them. And I was like, holy shit. Like, and it's at the very end of the episode. And actually I really should like cut that and bring it up and do a little nugget video out of that. And I just love them. They're so amazing. That was a great episode. My talking to Patricia, my mentor, was also a lot of fun. It just was great to bring her, like what I've been working with over so many years, to other people, you know, and like get a glimpse of what she's like and her knowledge and her wisdom. And it was just such a great conversation. Dr. Michelle Wolford, not only did she provide just some amazing tips and stories, but like she was very vulnerable and open on that episode too, of an experience she had. And I was grateful that she was open to talk about that, like on, you know, with me. And I just really feel like I just have this trust in this show. It's really weird. It's like I really trust the content that I'm producing. Stuff comes up. I just did an interview an hour before this, and some things came up that we didn't plan, but it came out, and I was like, I love that this is coming out right now. You know, like some emotional stuff. Like I want to create a safe space for people to feel like they can do that. And then I'll just say, like, I mean, all my favorites are going to be my guest episodes. Yeah. You know? Yeah. I just, hi. I loved doing our episode together. That was a lot of fun, actually. I got, I think, the most feedback about that episode. You're definitely in top fives. And I loved like that we were at a different location. You know, that made it pretty fun. Yeah. But if anybody watched that episode, is episode 3, go back and watch it if you haven't. It was really good. We talked about it a lot. And seriously, like people today are like, I watched that episode with you and Dustin, and they have questions. You're leaving them hanging on some things.
Oh yeah, I know.
But he would not hold the mic up to his mouth.
Yeah, I got this cool gadget now. It's just right in my mouth.
It's like perfect.
It's right in my mouth, everybody. Right in there. Yep.
And anybody listening like can't see it. So it's just, that's what they get with the audio. But it's hands-free and we're good. The sound
just floats right under my chin, everybody. Just floats right under my chin.
Well, it does. Isn't it perfect? It's perfect for you.
It's cool. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
And I don't mind being on the mic. I feel like Mariah Carey with my microphone.
Yeah, you are Mariah Carey. Is there 3 people that you would want to have on the show? And why?
Oh, like pie in the sky?
Well, maybe not. Could be anybody.
Oh. I mean,
I can name people and you can tell me what you think about that on an episode.
Wow. Like,
I'll give you 3 people.
Are you pitching yourself for another episode, or are you saying
No, not myself.
Now? No, okay. But what? So you have 3 people, or you're wanting to do this for an episode?
No, what I'm saying is there 3 people you would like to be on the show?
There's more
that you'd like to interview.
People.
Well, I know, but is there a specific 3?
I mean,
what's that look like? Who are they and why?
Look, okay. No shocker here, probably. I feel like one of the a very strong interviewer is Oprah. I feel like she's the more serious side. She's one of those, like, she's never talking about personal. That's what I'm saying. I analyze these interviewers. She asks really great questions. She's so present. She's so curious. And I would love to interview her. It's like the interviewer interviews the interviewer.
Okay.
I always think about Ellen. You know, I've always loved Ellen DeGeneres. Went to her show, danced on the main stage and the stairs.
Yeah, you were all dancing all over the studio.
I was like a hog. I was a dance hog.
Yeah, you were. It was cool.
But it was amazing. but like she also is somebody who interviews but has a comedy side, but I also feel like there's this whole other like side that she hasn't talked about, and I would love for her to talk about it on my show. And I have these moments of like, that person would be amazing to be on my show, but now I'm like totally drawing a blank of who I would say.
Is there someone out there that knows a lot about something that you know nothing about, that you would be too intimidated to interview, considering you don't know
Oh my
what you
God.
want to learn?
Probably a lot of people. I feel like I don't know a lot about a lot. So, any kind of like, it has to be really interesting though. I was going to say chemist or something, but like
Presidents?
oh, I know where this is going. It's an
I'm just
inside
saying.
joke.
But
No. Oh, well,
like something that you're interested in, that you want to learn about.
I mean, I would love to talk to any, honestly, I would talk to any president.
Okay.
I would talk to any president. You know, I've like had this thought of running for president. Obviously, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But I've talked about it. I would talk to any, I don't care what party, what year, I don't care. That would be fucking insane.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But something that you're interested in.
I would be interested in that.
Okay.
Oh, trust me.
Cool. No, I trust you.
I'm also very interested in astrology, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
So, talking to like an astrologist would be pretty neat.
What about the woman you just spoke with the other day?
Pam Crane told me
It's
about
pretty neat.
told me about my past lives, which are really dark.
When
and
she was a
scary.
dirty prostitute.
Yeah, I slept with a lot of women's husbands. That's what she said to me.
Not good for me.
That was a past life. It's on this one.
Okay. just checking. Anyway, check her out. I don't know.
Pam Crane. She's on like a 2-month wait list. I booked it forever ago. I didn't know what to expect. She does astrology as well as numerology. Blew my fucking mind. We met each other, Dustin and I, in a past life. We were separated. He went into a concentration camp and he was with my father. My father and Dustin have like a whole soul connection. My mom and Dustin have a soul connection. I mean, we're a soul family. She was like, wow. It was really, really fucking cool.
Yeah. If you're into that and are open to that, generally people could be off put by that, but it's really about putting your trust into the other person and taking in the information and taking it to whatever angle you want. It's actually quite fun and interesting. So it might be worth a check out. And then there's another person that might be cool.
That does astrology?
No.
Past life stuff?
I had it in my head, but it's gone. But
Well, can I say I just thought of somebody who I'd love to have on my show.
okay.
I'd love her to be an in-person one. And that's my grandma.
Yes.
My grandma Carol has some stories. It's like how it would be so hard to like come up with an hour of content, but I think we could do it together. And I would really like to do that when we're in Loveland. I think about that a lot. Her and I on the show.
It's cool because even everybody has some sort of story.
Right.
And I mean, and they can go in any sort of different direction. But yeah, she would be a good one. Mm-hmm. Your parents?
I get nervous what they'd say.
Well, that's the fun part.
I don't know if I want my parents on. More so my dad of what he would say.
Yeah, it's awesome.
You know,
He'd do great.
He would do great, and he would appeal to some people.
Is there anything you want to leave your people with, your listeners, and anyone that's sort of been engaged with the podcast over the last 4 months or so?
Oh my God. It's really just like a major thank you. Major thank you for spending time. I say this to you. I'm like, so-and-so emailed me today. Got this email. I got this one email where business contact, I know him in the industry, in the retail industry. And he's like, I listened to your podcast today. I listened to 3 episodes. I extended my walk and went past my office just so I could finish the 3rd one. And I'm like in tears, I can't even express, like, for people to spend their time, their most important resource, means truly the world to me.
It's pretty neat.
And I don't take that lightly. And, you know, it's hard. I want to create content that people feel it was worth their time. And I know I'm not always going to achieve that, because everybody needs different things at different times. But my biggest takeaway would just be thank you. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for being on this journey. And I really hope that we can turn it into something really magical. I know that sounds cheesy, but I do. Yeah. I want it to be magical.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. And I'm very proud of you. And I'll be here on the next 25th one, which would make it the 50th one.
50th. Now, real quick before we go, you've seen me do this show now for 25 episodes. Any thoughts that you have being an outsider looking in?
It's a good question. I think you having some help with topics, not knowing what your people want to listen to, which is what you just said, having some insight to what that is. Maybe there's something you could put on the website for future topics. I know that when you had prepared to do this, you had a journal that had 250 topics.
No, 83.
83 topics. And I feel you feel like you're running out of ideas.
Right. Because I'm I don't know if some of those 83 ideas are really good anymore. Now,
why is that?
Because, and this is part of maybe the challenge, because I put down the topics, but then when you really think, okay, how can I make this into at least a 15 to 20 minute show, right? Solo episodes, I'm trying to be no more than 30 minutes. Sometimes it's I can say this shit in 4 minutes. It's not
you want to be cautious of beating a dead horse.
Yeah.
Overpowering the subject.
Exactly.
With basically,
I don't want to stretch it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's why having a guest is better, because you only have so much personal experience and you can only live by so many things. So to find yourself doing episodes, it's easy to go back to stuff you've talked about in the past, or it's easy to tell the same story or whatever it is. But to have someone different is, I think, pretty important. I think now what's happening is folks outside the circle of people you've worked with, or
the circle of trust.
The circle of trust. People outside the circle of trust are starting to come to want to chat with you. And I think that's cool. And having those people come in and bring their story, I think makes your platform even better, because it's not just hey buddy, I know blah, blah, blah. Can you do me a favor and jump on this podcast that I'm doing, or talk about such and such? Going outside the circle of friends and family and people that you've worked with, or, doctor, or any of these people, and getting those people, because they're going to bring some shit that's not even just different, I think. So I think that'd be exciting. The more that's continues to happen, the better in time.
Well, I'll just say, for me, when I'm asking somebody to be on the show, first of all, I'm terrified.
Yeah, it's true.
And so it's not a, hey buddy, will you do this? It's I'm terrified. Are they going to say yes? Or are they going to say no?
Yeah.
And then when they say yes, I'm then I'm terrified, because I want them to love the episode. I want them to look amazing and do a great job. Now I feel a little bit more trusting with the people I know, but I'm venturing into the people I don't.
Yeah.
And that's I feel really nervous, because I don't have necessarily anything to fall back on, a story, or I don't know how I'm going to behave with these new people, because they don't know who I am, my personality. So if I say something or I can't read them, I can't read them. So to take the conversation somewhere.
Yeah.
But I'm just always terrified, but in such a great way.
Yeah. I think people get a good taste of who you are listening to the podcast, and anyone who's asking to be on your podcast has probably listened to enough episodes to be okay, I got my finger on the pulse of what the fuck I can expect in this.
Right.
And I think that should maybe take the edge off of you. But it's true, because actually when you were starting to ask people, and people we know mutually, you were really nervous. And I'm there's no fucking way that these people are going to say no to you. They will do anything for you, and it's perfect fit. I mean, some of the people we know together, some of the people you'd mentioned, I'm yeah, that's just awesome. And there's so many of those kind of people in our life. And I think more in your circles, particularly to the direction that this podcast is going. I mean, you got content for days. I think I
know, as long as I have guests, right?
Yeah.
But it's always terrifying.
Having good private, like yourself talking is also cool. But you got to get creative in the subject matter, because it would be different. If Joe Rogan, for instance, just started talking about stuff, it'd be kind of neat. I don't think that's ever happened, but to do that every 2 or 3 episodes, you got to be cautious of beating that dead horse.
Right. Well, are you telling me that because I need to make sure, I'm starting to beat a dead horse?
No, I don't think you're starting to, but I would personally be conscious of that.
Right.
I guess that would be, and
oh my God,
if
of
I had
course.
advice, I guess that would be what.
No, I think that's great advice. Sometimes you're like, what have I talked about? Like, you get so lost in the content, and I'm sure I'll repeat some stuff, but I agree. And I just want to clarify, I'm terrified with guests, but like in a really great way.
Yeah.
Not like I think if that whole saying, if it doesn't scare you, it's not worth it.
Never heard of that, but.
Maybe I make it up. Can that be mine? Quote graphic. If it ain't scary, it ain't worth it.
Yeah.
But we can say isn't, because that's better than ain't, right? Because ain't a word.
Ain't isn't a word. Actually, I think it might be in the dictionary now these days.
Is it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. I think so.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, there's that.
Thank God for that editing team right now.
No, I think we keep it all in.
Oh, keep it all there.
Great.
Okay, cool.
That's what we do. Well, that's where it's fun. This is where it's fun when I have him here with me, because you're the only one that's been physically with me on the show.
That's not true.
Physically. Who else? Nobody else.
Is that for real?
Yeah.
Wow.
I could have done 2.
Oh no, the wine Akash.
Oh, Akash.
Which I forced on her, and it ended up being a pretty cool episode, I thought.
It was a really
I was basically like, hey dude, you're gonna do a podcast. You cool with that? She does all this stuff, and she was petrified.
I was,
and we were
speaking
at our 3rd or 4th winery at that time.
3rd.
Yeah, and it was just the perfect time to talk.
And thankfully it turned out really great.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, and his story was great.
And I have a funny video that I just found right before we started filming with Dustin. He's so wasted, and it was after I filmed that, and he was really wasted. And it's funny because you keep using the word cat. You keep saying the cat that started this winery, and you're like,
when that stuff starts to happen
3 times.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck? Why is he saying cat all the time? And then at the very end of the video, I address it. I call it out. So I'll post that on Instagram.
I have not seen that.
You should follow me on Instagram.
And that's not my normal life, by the way.
Oh my God, no.
It was not that long ago.
No, you like something you mix. Oh, because you changed over to beer or something.
Oh no.
I don't know.
No, what it was is I donated blood.
Oh.
And then I went out drinking.
Yes, because Dustin has.
It actually happened the day.
What do you have? O negative? Or what do you have?
O negative, yeah.
So the rarest blood.
I feel obligated to donate blood because it can go to anybody.
Which is amazing that you do it.
Cool. Yeah.
It can go to anybody. So So
That's what
on
happened.
a Thursday, he donated blood. Friday, he's completely like drained. Like anemic.
We started drinking at 11 in the morning.
Oh, we also started. Yeah, we got there at 10:30.
Yeah.
We started really early. Then we didn't
I
have
had to
lunch.
have been it.
Oh, for sure. I've never seen you like that. It was for sure like that. It's not like he's like, oh, Crystal, something's wrong with Dustin. Ooh. It's not like that.
Yeah.
But no, that is a highlight. Oh my God. Like when you talk about highlights, we were in the fucking vineyard.
Yeah, it was pretty neat
In
atmosphere.
the fucking vineyard. And then what people didn't see is, I had some wine too, so I was pretty buzzed. I go over to the camera and I can't find the fucking video. And I'm like, you didn't hit record, Dustin. And he's like, no. Like, it's becoming devastating. I'm like, we just wasted his time. There's no way I can say, can we do it one more time? Like, we didn't have this planned. And then all of a sudden, but I had all of that conversation on tape. It's all
really?
recorded. Yeah.
I'll
I'll share it somewhere at some point. because we're like, no. I mean, and then I found it and was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
But no, that was a pretty epic interview, and he's just pretty amazing too. So
Yep. Everyone's been great.
Yeah.
I haven't listened to
what's
every
one of
episode
your
yet.
favorites? I mean, you haven't listened to every, but do you have a favorite standout?
Standout. That's a good question. You know, I tend to listen to the people I've got to meet personally, people I know personally. Rob and Leah was probably a favorite, just because I know how powerful their story was, and to see your podcast mix with their story and be able to get, you know, their message out and people to see what that is. You know, it's pretty fun. It's tragic, but I think it's really powerful, and I'd have to say that that's probably my favorite episode.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I feel like there's just so much value to that, and having been there through that, you know, it's worth listening to for sure.
It is. We'll link to it in the show notes of that episode, because it really, I mean, it's a movement. It's a really do a good deed for Blake.
Yeah.
You don't have to do
That's
it in April.
That's also part
like,
of the coolest thing. I mean, one of the most powerful things about it is the movement that happened with the loss of Blake. And if you go down the rabbit hole of what's developed in time through the loss of Blake, you know, Blake is a movement. You know, his life is a movement, and these are dear friends of ours that, you know, it's got to deal with something more tragic than anything I can contemplate, really. But the power of what they created from it, and for that opportunity to come out through sort of your voice in the podcast is my favorite.
Yeah, that's a good one. It really is. We'll link to it.
One question that we could probably take and put somewhere closer to the beginning is, what is the vision for a merge between Crystal Media and Crystal Uncorked? Because I know that that's something that's been talked about pretty much really from the start, and something that Crystal Uncorked being an entity of Crystal Media and managed under that same business umbrella. What do you see that? How do you see that working? Because you're taking really social media, a business of helping retailers through social media, and a podcast about, you know, business owners and wine and open, honest conversations of, you know, from losing a child to, you know, your doctor and other people in the business. How is that going to work? Basically, how is that going to all come together? Because they're two sort of very different things, but certainly there's potential in it, and it's been something that's been on your mind. And I'd be curious if you can give people some insight to what that might be.
Totally. I mean, so first of all, we don't need to put that to the beginning or whatever. It's perfect where it is.
I feel like people come to a point in a podcast where, like, okay, shit, this is going to be over any minute. I'll be there soon.
No, but they'll see. They're like, oh, there's,
fuck.
Well,
they're still talking.
Well, then they have to listen, because it could be.
Tune in.
Because we could give the big tip.
The big announcement.
The big announcement might be at the end. So it is a great question. I think that there's a little bit of an element of still trying to figure that out. But what I would say, where the podcast is, where I'm most comfortable, what my audience is responding the best to so far based on the stats, is the business topics, the business guests. But like, not totally, because Rob and Leah are in the top 5 of everything. Actually, they take number 1 for a few categories. And I think it's because the story is so powerful.
What do you mean by categories?
Well, there's just different categories, like how many downloads I've had for an episode, length of time that people stay on, which is like engagement rate. And then you have engagement on, like, that's just going to be Apple Podcast. And then I have like social media. I don't know how to I don't even know if I can get stats on some of these other platforms. I'm so new. I need to figure it out. But so there's like different sections for things. So I love talking about personal stuff and business stuff. Like, I don't know. So with Crystal Media, I love the idea of interviewing some of our retailers, which I've done with Tammy and Rusty, which were such great conversations. Loved our conversations. I would love to do more of that. That can be a part of the Crystal Media umbrella. And we now have some squeaking dog toys, which I bet that's not being picked up actually on the mic. But and then I want to talk about more business topics. Like, I want to bring in more business professionals, and I love talking about mindset, goal setting, leadership, culture. Just having some of those conversations, but I don't know. Barry can't bark, but I don't want to not talk about the personal element, So that's why Crystal and Cork's perfect, because I can talk about both, but that business aspect can kind of feed over to Crystal Media, and Crystal Media can maybe feed me some stuff too on Crystal and Corked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. I think that's a good... Having described it that way, I think that's pretty good. So,
okay, good. I'm glad I have your approval.
You have my approval. Yep.
All right.
What else? Anything?
No, I don't think so.
What's coming up in the next couple of episodes?
Well, I have an episode coming out after this one with Brandy Cersei, who is somebody, my first interview outside of Akash, that I didn't know her previously. She found my episode. She found my podcast through Dr. Michelle Wolford, and she started listening, and she's listening to a bunch of the episodes. We met for wine last week, so we got to meet in person because she's actually lives here in San Diego area. And we're like laughing if you're watching this video because our dogs are totally fighting over a toy. They're like, "Hey, mom and dad, it's time to play with us." There's Flo. If you're watching the video, get to see this gorgeous girl. She made an appearance in the last episode too. Barry must be camera shy. He's more private. You have to talk to his agent before he can be on, but she's open. What was I talking about? Super excited for Brandy's episode. And then I also have one coming up with a stranger who, I've never even talked to her. And she's a wine sommelier candidate. She's got depth in wine, like knowledge depth.
Sure.
In wine.
Yeah.
Which I haven't had somebody on the show about wine.
That would be a good guess that, you could take some stuff that you're interested in and could really learn from, considering, your interest. So, cool. Well, that sounds fun.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I have another friend of mine in the industry, and she's selling like crazy through Facebook, like vintage items, making the most money she ever made.
Yeah.
I hope that's okay that I've said that on the show. She's just doing cool stuff, but she's going to talk about reinventing yourself.
Cool.
Which is pretty cool, right? Because you're not going to just be one thing for your whole life.
That's true.
Unless you're Randy Vilkaitis, my father. He has worked at the same place since he was 18. The job has changed a little bit, but he's been at the same place. Otherwise,
pretty
you're typically reinventing yourself, which, honey, you can talk a lot about that too. But yeah.
Cool. Well, that sounds good.
Is that a wrap?
1, 2, 3, check. 1, 2, 3. It's a wrap, everybody.
1, 2, 3. It's you and me.
The minute, other hour, other day, other year. I stole a 6-pack of Budweiser beer and I ran up to the car. Wasn't very far when the manager store came out with the bar and said, "Yo, Dustin, better put that back or I'll beat you so tight that you fit in the rack." I said, "Hey, pops, don't mess with me.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'm going to send Steve."
Steve.
I don't know.
All right, we can cut that. Thanks, everybody.
No, we'll keep it. That's all. Or Chris on Cork. Honey, I have to say, I really love our episodes together. You just show up because you talk about how you don't really like being on camera, but you do an excellent job.
I have makeup on, everybody.
He does.
I do.
He has powder on his face.
I do.
It's like the camera, you got to put some powder on. But I really do appreciate you putting your makeup on. And
I don't normally put makeup on for anything. It's just that sometimes when I have a drink, my face gets really red, and we sat down to get
No,
ready.
it
And I'm
wasn't.
like, holy shit, my face is bright
It wasn't
red
even
right
that.
now.
It was the camera, because when I looked at you, you looked fine. But then in the camera, we're like, whoa, rosacea
Rosacea,
is
for sure.
here
Getting
in the
me.
interview. We didn't invite you. So we
it's
put that away.
really weird.
That's nothing was wrong with rosacea. It was
No.
just like really loud on the camera. So we
Yeah.
covered it up. But no, you don't normally wear makeup, but I'm thankful that you did. And that
And
you
you-
prepared for this with the questions, and you are there for me with my topics and my design. And when I'm like happy and doubting. And so I really appreciate you. Cheers to you.
Cheers.
And it's going to continue. So
right.
just buckle up, Buttercup.
Yeah. Okay.
And like I said, next week's episode is Brandy Cersei. Tune in. We're talking about what she learned in her first year of business, which is some great things that, like, if you can know that early, it's going to save you so much effort and time. She also talks about like why she doesn't wear sunscreen, even though we live in Southern California.
Ooh, I'm interested in that.
Fascinating.
I never
to me.
wore sunscreen as a mailman. Ever.
You do need to protect your
and
skin.
now I need to wear makeup.
Oh, it's so perfect.
Oh,
Perfect.
shit.
Well, she does protect her skin,
That's interesting.
but not through sunscreen.
Okay.
You're going to find it really interesting. I did. So tune into next week's episode. Seriously, it means the world to me that you're here. It means the world to me that you are here. Much love. And I'll see you on the next See You. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. Are you on Instagram? I'd love to see pictures of you listening to the show, a screenshot of your favorite episode, and or your favorite wines. Share them with me. Just follow and tag @Crystal Uncorked. I can't wait to see you there. All right, I'll see you on the next See You.